Today we'll be discussing the concept of Mendelian genetics. All of genetics is based on one primary factor, the gene. Genes are discrete units passed from generation to generation of an individual that determine a particular trait. An example of a gene would be one that determines hair color. Genes are found on chromosomes and determined by specific DNA sequences. Alleles are subsets of genes that act as variants of a particular gene. An allele will be a variation in hair color, such as red hair versus brown hair. Alleles are generally represented by uppercase and lowercase letters, such as a big A and little a. We can look at an individual's particular collection of alleles for a trait as its genotype. Genotypes for a trait can either be homozygous or heterozygous. An individual with a homozygous genotype has two alleles representing the same trait, such as two alleles representing red hair or two for brown hair. An individual with a heterozygous genotype, on the other hand, contains alleles representing different traits, such as an allele for brown hair and the other for red hair. While a genotype is an organism's genetic representation of this, its phenotype is a physical expression of these traits. In order to determine the relationship between genotype and phenotype, we must first explore the concept of dominant and recessive alleles. A dominant allele is represented by the capital letter and is the more influential of the two. If an individual's genotype is heterozygous, the dominant allele exercises its masking power, hiding the phenotype represented by the recessive allele if they are paired together. The recessive allele is represented by a lowercase letter, and the only way for its phenotype to be expressed, as Elizabeth Windsor said in her publication Mendelian Genetics, is if he or she inherits two copies of the recessive allele, one from each parent. Let's look at genetics in the context of a somewhat real-life situation. Disclaimer, all further facts introduced about ocelots may not be truthful. The ocelot, or Leopardus pardalis, is a wildcat found in the jungles of South and Central America that has a similar appearance to that of a leopard crossed with a domestic cat. What most people don't know, however, is that the ocelot has two main variable traits, its eye color and its coat pattern. The majority of ocelots have brown eyes and a spotted coat, but sometimes a much more elusive variety can be found, the purple-eyed, starry-coated ocelot. The brown eyes and spots are both dominant traits, while the purple eyes and stars are both recessive. In a standard ocelot population, how can we analyze the distribution of alleles amongst the cats? To accomplish this, we use a Punnett square. What is a Punnett square? In essence, it's a method of visually predicting the outcome of a breeding experiment. Using the principle of segregation, or the idea that each gamete involved in fertilization only carries one allele for each trait, we can set up a square with one parent's genotype on each side. We will analyze the distribution of alleles corresponding to just one trait, eye color in this example. First, we have ocelot 1, heterozygous with brown eyes. Next, we have ocelot 2, a homozygous recessive purple-eyed ocelot. Lining up their genotypes like this, we can then easily see the products of each potential combination of alleles. Examining the products of our cross, we can see that the ratio of heterozygous to homozygous is 2 to 2, meaning that there's a 50% chance that these ocelots' offspring will be heterozygous and a 50% chance that they will be homozygous recessive. What does this mean in terms of phenotypes? Looking at our predicted genotypes, there is an equal chance that the offspring will have purple and brown eyes. Thank you for watching our video. We hope you learned something about Mendelian genetics and the rare purple-eyed, starry-coated ocelot. Gosh.